Some people think waking up between 3 and 5 in the morning is random. They think it's just biology, just a glitch in their sleep cycle, just one of those unexplainable moments when your body decides to betray you in the darkness. But what if I told you that what you're experiencing right now, in this exact moment, listening to these words, is not random at all? What if everything that brought you here, everything that's making your heart respond to these words, is actually an invitation? An invitation from the one who never sleeps, who is always aware, always present, always calling. We are living through the most sacred month that will come this year. Ramadan 2026 is not just another month on your calendar. It's a threshold. It's a doorway that opens once every year. And on the other side of that doorway is transformation. But transformation doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen because you're just going through the motions. It happens because you know what to do in those first 10 days. Those first 10 days are not like the other days. They are the foundation. They are the beginning of everything. My beloved brothers and sisters, I want you to feel something in your chest right now. Not just hear these words, but feel them. Because what we're about to discuss together is going to touch the places in your heart that have been waiting, maybe for years, for someone to acknowledge them. You know that feeling, don't you? That quiet ache, that sense that there's something more, that you're capable of more, that your life should mean more, that somewhere deep inside you there's a version of yourself that you haven't become yet, and that version is calling to you. There's something happening in the hearts of people right now. All over the world, in cities and villages, in homes and apartments, there are people waking up at night. They're not waking up because they want to. They're waking up because something inside them is calling them. And they don't know what it is. They lie there in the darkness, confused, maybe frustrated, wondering why sleep has abandoned them. They check their phone. The world is asleep. Everyone they know is asleep. And they're awake, alone, in the silence. But what they don't realize is that this aloneness is not punishment. This aloneness is permission. But that's not loneliness. That's a calling. That's Allah speaking to your heart in the only language your heart can understand anymore. Because during the day, your heart is too busy. It's distracted by work, by relationships, by the endless scroll of images and information. It's protected by defenses you've built so carefully over so many years. But at night, when you're alone, when the world is quiet, when there's nothing between you and the darkness except your own breathing, that's when your heart can finally speak. That's when it can finally tell you the truth. You see, there are sleepers and there are seekers. Sleepers are the ones who rest. They live their lives in the comfort of routine. They wake when it's convenient. They worship when it fits their schedule. They pray when they remember. They give to charity when they feel like it. And there's nothing wrong with rest. Allah created sleep as a mercy. But seekers, my brothers and sisters, seekers are different. Seekers are the ones whose hearts have been touched by something so real, so true, that they can no longer be comfortable in the ordinary. They are the ones who feel the pull, the ones who answer the call even when no one else can hear it. They are the ones who say yes to Allah even when their eyes are heavy, even when their bed is warm, even when their flesh is weak. And maybe that's you. Maybe that's why you're here listening to these words right now. Because something inside you knows that the first 10 days of Ramadan are different. Something inside you knows that if you do this right, if you approach these days with intention and awareness, your entire life will shift. Not dramatically, maybe. Not in a way that everyone around you will notice. But internally, spiritually, in the deepest places of your being, you will be transformed. Think about the first 10 days of Ramadan. What are they? They are days of mercy. Allah Himself has named them this way. Ayam ar-Rama, days of mercy, not days of judgment, not days of pressure, not days where you have to be perfect. Days of mercy. Think about that. Let that sink in. It means that in these 10 days, the doors of Allah's mercy are wide open. It means that every step you take toward Allah in these days is met with mercy. Every tear you shed is witnessed by the most merciful. Every intention you make is honored. Every mistake you make if you turn back to Allah is forgiven. This is the atmosphere of the first 10 days. But here's what most people don't understand. They think Ramadan is just about fasting. They think it's about not eating or drinking. They think that if they get through the day without food, they've done something great. And yes, fasting is powerful, incredibly powerful. But if that's all Ramadan is to you, then you're missing everything. You're like someone standing outside a palace, looking at the gates, thinking they've seen the entire structure. You're looking at the entrance and thinking you've experienced the beauty of what's inside. The real Ramadan happens at night. The real transformation happens in the moments when the world is asleep and you're awake. It happens when you're standing in prayer, when your forehead is on the ground, when you're alone with Allah, and there's nothing between you and Him except sincerity. It happens when you're crying, when tears are falling from your eyes onto the prayer mat. And you're not sure why you're crying except that your heart is so full of something, so heavy with something, that it has to come out. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine it's 3 a.m, you're lying in your bed, your family is asleep, your neighbors are asleep, the whole city is asleep, and your eyes open. Maybe you didn't plan to wake up. Maybe sleep just left you. Maybe something inside you pulled you awake. And in that moment, before your mind fully awakens, before you remember what day it is and what you have to do, there's a softening that happens inside your chest. Do you know that feeling? It's not dramatic. It's not like someone grabbed your heart and shook it. It's quiet. It's gentle. It's like something melting. Your defenses come down. The walls you build during the day, when you're busy, when you're distracted, when you're performing for the world, those walls dissolve in the darkness. And that's when you realize something. You realize that you've been lonely. Not the kind of loneliness where you're surrounded by people who don't understand you, but a deeper loneliness. The loneliness of a soul that hasn't been home in a long time. The loneliness of a heart that's been running without stopping to remember why it started running in the first place. The loneliness of someone who's been trying so hard to be someone else, to fit into a shape that was never meant for them, that they've forgotten what they actually feel like underneath all those layers. This is the mercy of being woken up. This is the gift that Allah gives to Seth. Retain hearts. He doesn't wake up everyone at night. He wakes the ones He loves. He wakes the ones whose hearts are ready to return. He wakes the seekers. He wakes the ones who are lost and doesn't want them to stay lost. And when you're awake and alone and the world is asleep, something extraordinary happens. You can hear yourself. You can hear the real you, the you that exists underneath all the roles you play, all the masks you wear. You can hear your heart crying out for something real. Not success, not money, not status, something real, something eternal, something that makes you feel alive. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us that there is a time in the last third of the night when Allah descends to the lowest heaven and asks, is there anyone who asks of me so I may give them? Is there anyone who seeks forgiveness so I may forgive them? Think about that. Think about the reality of that statement. The creator of the universe, the one who holds all the worlds in His hand, is asking you. He's waiting for you. He's inviting you. And the only thing that stands between you and receiving what you're asking for is your willingness to ask. But most of us never ask. We live our entire lives without really asking. We go through the motions. We make dua, but there's no heart in it. We pray, but we're thinking about what we have to do later. We fast, but we're focused on the hunger rather than the purpose. And then we wonder why our lives feel empty. We wonder why we feel disconnected from our faith. We wonder why Ramadan comes and goes. And we feel the same at the end as we felt at the beginning. This is where the first 10 days change everything. Because in the first 10 days, you have a chance to start differently. You have a chance to approach Ramadan, not as something you have to get through, but as something you get to experience. You have a chance to set an intention that is so clear, so powerful, that it carries you through the entire month. And this is where most people fail, and I'm going to tell you why. They think that Ramadan success is about discipline. They think it's about willpower. They think it's about gritting their teeth and getting through it. So they approach the month with this kind of grim determination. And for a few days, the newness carries them. But by the second week, the enthusiasm has faded. The discipline starts to crack. They're tired, they're hungry, they're cranky, and they've missed the entire point because they were never looking at the point in the first place. The point is not discipline. The point is love. The point is that you're so in love with Allah, so desperate to be close to Him, that you would gladly give up food and water just to spend time with Him. The point is that fasting is not a punishment. It's a gift. It's an opportunity. It's a door. It's a way of saying to Allah, I love you more than I love my own comfort. I love you more than I love satisfying my hunger. I love you more than I love ease. And the first 10 days are where you establish this love. This is where you remember why you're doing this. This is where you feel it in your bones that you belong to Allah and He belongs to you. You're not fasting to be skinny. You're not fasting to be healthy. You're not fasting to check something off a list. You're fasting because you want to taste what it's like to prioritize your soul over your body. You're fasting because you want to know what it's like to feel the hunger that the poor feel. And in feeling it, to remember that there are people in this world who feel that hunger every single day. But waking up is only the beginning, because what you do in those moments, what you do in those hours before dawn when you're alone with Allah, that can change your entire life. That is where the real work happens. That's where transformation actually begins. So let me tell you what you need to do in these first 10 days. Not what you should do, not what would be nice to do, but what you must do if you actually want your life to change. Because there are 10 things, 10 essential practices that will set the foundation for a Ramadan that transforms you from the inside out. The first thing you must do in the first 10 days of Ramadan is establish a consistent time for Tahajjud. Tahajjud is not just optional prayer. Tahajjud is the prayer of those who are serious about their relationship with Allah. The Quran describes those who pray Tahajjud as those who forsake their beds. They leave their comfort, they leave their warmth, they leave their ease, and they stand before Allah. This is not about praying a certain number of rakats. This is about showing Allah that you're willing to interrupt your comfort for Him. So in these first 10 days, pick a time. Set your alarm. Maybe it's 2 in the morning, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4. Pick a time and commit to it. Don't make it complicated. 2 rakats of tahajjud is better than none. 4 is better. But the number doesn't matter as much as the consistency, because you're not building a habit, you're building a relationship. The second thing you must do is make dua with sincerity in the last third of the night. This is the time when the gates of heaven are open. This is the time when Allah is listening most intently. And what does that mean? It means you need to ask Allah for what you actually want. Not what you think you should want. Not what sounds spiritual. What you actually want. Do you want your family to be closer? Ask Allah, do you want to overcome an addiction? Ask Allah, do you want to find your purpose? Ask Allah, do you want to be forgiven for your past? Ask Allah, do you want to change your character? Ask Allah. There is nothing too big and nothing too small to ask Allah for. And in the last third of the night, when you're alone, when there's nothing but your words and Allah's presence, that's when your dua has the most power. But here's something crucial. Your dua has to come from your heart. It can't be memorized. It doesn't have to be in Arabic if you don't speak Arabic well. It just has to be real. It has to be you speaking to Allah, telling Him what you actually need. And when you do this, when you make dua with this kind of sincerity, something shifts inside you. Because in the act of asking Allah, you're acknowledging that you need Him. You're acknowledging that you can't do this alone. You're acknowledging that without Him, you're nothing. The third thing you must do is read the Quran. Not just read it, but engage with it. In the first 10 days, choose a surah. Maybe it's Surah Yasin. Maybe it's Surah Al-Mulk. Maybe it's Surah Al-Rahman. Choose a surah that speaks to your heart and read it every single day. Read it slowly. Read it with translation if you need to. Read it until the words start to penetrate your soul. Because the Quran is not just words, it's the speech of Allah. And when you read it, when you really read it, you're having a conversation with Allah. The fourth thing you must do is increase your remembrance of Allah. Not just say Subhanallah and Alhamdulillah mechanically, but actually remember Allah. Actually bring your attention to Allah. Do this while you're waiting. Do this while you're walking. Do this while you're sitting. Especially do this when you break your fast. When you're eating after a long day of fasting, remember Allah. Thank Him. Because gratitude is the gateway to more blessings. And if you can learn to be grateful in the first 10 days, you'll find that the entire month becomes more meaningful. The fifth thing you must do is fast with intention. Not just abstain from food and water, but understand why you're fasting. Understand that every moment you feel hungry, that's a moment to remember Allah. That's a moment to think about the poor. That's a moment to strengthen your willpower. That's a moment to connect with Allah in a way that you can't on any other day of the year. So in the first 10 days, don't just fast. Fast with consciousness. Fast with presence. Fast with purpose. Now here's where the real transformation starts to happen. And I need you to really listen to this. The sixth thing you must do is forgive someone or ask forgiveness from someone. Because Ramadan is a month of forgiveness, and you can't receive forgiveness from Allah if you're holding grudges against people. You can't experience the mercy of Allah if you're not willing to extend mercy to others. So in the first 10 days, identify someone you need to forgive or someone you need to ask forgiveness from. And do it. It might be uncomfortable, it might be hard, but it's necessary because your relationship with Allah is directly connected to your relationships with people. The seventh thing you must do is give. Give generously. Give without counting. Give even when you feel like you don't have enough. Because Allah has promised that what you give comes back to you multiplied. And in Ramadan, giving is amplified. The reward for giving in Ramadan is multiplied. So in the first 10 days, give something. Give money if you can't. Give a smile. Give a kind word. Give your attention. Give something that costs you something. The eighth thing you must do is find someone to break your fast with. Or break your fast with your family with intention. Because fasting is not just about individual spirituality. It's about community. It's about togetherness. It's about remembering that we're not alone in this journey. So in the first 10 days, make sure that you're breaking your fast with people, have conversations, share your thoughts about the day, ask each other about what you learned. Make iftar a time of spiritual connection, not just eating. The ninth thing you must do is set a specific goal for your behavior change. Not a vague goal like, I want to be a better person. A specific goal. I want to stop backbiting. I want to stop wasting time on my phone. I want to be more patient with my family. I want to speak more kindly. I want to be more honest. Pick one thing and commit to changing it in these first 10 days. Because Ramadan is a training ground. It's a place where you practice being the person you want to become. And the 10th thing, the most important thing, the thing that ties everything together, is that you must be honest with Allah about where you are. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. Don't put on a mask of spirituality if you're not feeling it. Go to Allah as you are. Broken if you're broken. Lost if you're lost. Confused if you're confused. Angry if you're angry. Tell Allah the truth about yourself. Because Allah already knows everything about you anyway. He's not fooled by your pretense. He's waiting for you to be real. He's waiting for you to drop the act and show Him your actual heart. When you do these 10 things in the first 10 days, when you commit to them with sincerity, something happens that you can't explain with logic. Your heart starts to change. Your perspective starts to shift. Things that used to matter to you start to feel hollow. Things that you've been ignoring start to feel urgent. Your eyes start to open to the reality of your situation, to the reality of your relationship with Allah, and to the reality of what your life could become if you actually committed to this path. And this is where very thing changes. This is where the second half of Ramadan becomes something completely different because you've built the foundation correctly. This is where the blessings start to multiply. This is where the real work of transformation begins. Because you've been asking Allah all these nights. You've been crying before Him. You've been standing in Tahajjud with nothing but your sincerity and your hope. You've been reading His words and feeling them penetrate your chest. And now as you move deeper into Ramadan, as you pass the first 10 days, you start to see the effects. You start to feel the change. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's not the dramatic transformation that you imagined, but it's real, it's there, and it's going to carry you forward. The beauty of the last third of the night is that it's the time when Allah listens most carefully. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that every night, during the last third, Allah descends to the lowest heaven and calls out, asking if there's anyone to ask Him, anyone to seek forgiveness, anyone to call upon Him. And the last third is the most sacred time. It's the deepest time. It's when the barriers between you and Allah become thinnest. And if you're awake during that time, if you're standing before Allah during that time, if you're making dua and asking Allah for what you need, then you're catching Allah in a moment of intense listening. This is not a superstition. This is not wishful thinking. This is the promise of Allah, delivered through the words of His messenger. When you wake up in the last third of the night and you stand before Allah and you ask Him, you are entering into a sacred exchange. You are stepping into a moment that is specifically designed for your transformation. You are accepting an invitation that has been extended to you by the Creator of the universe. And in Ramadan, this invitation beko, mess even more powerful. Because Ramadan is not just another month. It's the month when the Quran was revealed. It's the month when the gates of paradise are opened and the gates of hell are closed. It's the month when the devils are chained. It's the month when your spiritual capacity is elevated. Everything is working in your favor. Everything is conspiring to help you if you're willing to receive that help. But this help doesn't come automatically. You have to do your part. You have to wake up. You have to show up. You have to be sincere. You have to be consistent. You have to actually mean it when you ask Allah for forgiveness. You have to actually feel it when you're repenting. You have to actually understand what you're doing when you're fasting. This is not about going through motions. This is about transformation. And transformation requires effort. It requires sincerity. It requires a genuine desire to change. And this is where the tears come in. Not because sadness is the goal, but because when you're facing yourself honestly, when you're standing before Allah and telling Him the truth about who you are and what you've done and what you want to become, the tears flow naturally. They're not forced. They're not for show. They're the overflow of a heart that's been closed for too long and is finally opening. They're the release of a soul that's been holding on to pain and regret and is finally letting it go. The Prophet, peace be upon him, cried. The companions cried. The pious predecessors cried. Not because weakness was celebrated in Islam, but because tears are the sign of a heart that's alive, a heart that feels, a heart that knows the difference between temporary pleasure and eternal truth. And in Ramadan, in the silence of the night, when you're alone before Allah, tears are the most beautiful dua that you can make. Because when words fail you, when your mind can't articulate what your heart wants to say, tears say it all. Tears say, I'm sorry. Tears say, I want to change. Tears say, I can't do this alone. Tears say, help me. And Allah hears those tears. Allah honors those tears. Allah answers those tears. So as you move into the second half of Ramadan, after you've established the foundation in these first 10 days, the transformation starts to deepen. The change that started as a whisper becomes a voice. The intention that started as a spark becomes a flame. And by the time you reach the last 10 days, by the time you reach Laylat al-Qadr, the night of power, you're a different person. Not in a way that everyone around you might notice, but in a way that you know, in a way that Allah knows. Your relationship with Allah has shifted from obligation to love. Your fasting has shifted from abstinence to connection. Your dua has shifted from requests to conversation. Your heart has shifted from hardness to softness. And this shift, this transformation, doesn't disappear when Ramadan ends. It stays with you. It becomes part of who you are. Because you didn't just go through a month. You rebirthed yourself. You remembered your purpose. You reconnected with your Creator. And the greatest part of all of this, the thing that makes Ramadan so extraordinary, is that it's repeatable. It happens every year. Every year, Allah gives you another chance. Every year, He opens those doors again. Every year, He invites you to come home. And whether you took advantage of last year's invitation or not, whether you transformed completely or hardly at all, this year is new. This year is your chance to begin again. So I need you to make a decision right now, not after you finish listening to this, right now. Are you going to actually do this? Are you going to actually commit to these 10 things in the first 10 days of Ramadan? Are you going to actually show up for yourself and for Allah? Or are you going to continue doing what you've always done and wonder why nothing changes? Because if you're willing to be different, if you're willing to be sincere, if you're willing to be vulnerable, if you're willing to be honest with yourself and with Allah, then everything can change. Not in some magical way, but in a real, genuine, transformative way. In a way that touches your relationship with your family, in a way that touches your character, in a way that touches how you see yourself and how you see the world. And this is the promise of Ramadan. This is the gift that Allah is offering you. And it starts in the first 10 days. It starts with a decision. It starts with you saying yes to the invitation. It starts with you being willing to wake up, to stand before Allah, to be honest, to cry, to ask, to seek, to surrender. Are you ready? Because if you are, then let me take you deeper into what this actually means and what happens when you commit to this path. The reality of life transformation through Ramadan is not that you suddenly become perfect. It's that you become aware. You become aware of your patterns. You become aware of your weaknesses. You become aware of your capacity for change. And most importantly, you become aware of Allah's presence. You start to feel Him. You start to recognize His signs. You start to understand that He's not distant. He's not unreachable. He's closer to you than your jugular vein. He's more aware of you than you're aware of yourself. And when this awareness takes root, when this knowing becomes real in your heart, your behavior changes naturally. You don't have to force yourself to be kind. You don't have to remind yourself to be patient. You don't have to struggle against your desires as much, because your desires themselves start to change. What you wanted before doesn't appeal to you anymore. What you were running toward before doesn't seem important anymore. And what you were running away from, what you were afraid of, what you thought was your enemy, turns out to be your teacher. This is the gift of the first 10 days. This is what makes them so crucial. Because if you set this foundation correctly, if you establish this awareness, this connection, this love, then the rest of Ramadan becomes the harvest. You're not struggling in the middle days. You're not falling apart in the later days. You're flourishing. You're experiencing the month in a way that most people never experience it. You're not just fasting, you're transforming. And when Ramadan ends, when you step out of that month, you're not the same person who entered it. Your family sees it, your friends see it. Most importantly, you feel it. You feel the peace, you feel the clarity, you feel the purpose, you feel the connection to something real, something eternal, something that actually matters. And that feeling, that reality, that transformation doesn't fade away with time. It becomes who you are. It becomes the foundation of your new life. This is the power of committing to the first 10 days. This is why they're so important. Because every subsequent day of Ramadan builds on that foundation. Every subsequent day deepens the work that you started. Every subsequent day brings you closer to Allah. And by Laylat al-Qadr, by that night that is better than 1,000 months, You've prepared yourself to receive the blessing of that night in a way that transforms the entire year ahead of you. So as I'm speaking these words, I want you to feel the weight of this. I want you to understand that what we're talking about is not a nice idea or a pleasant tradition. We're talking about your life. We're talking about your relationship with Allah. We're talking about your eternal future. We're talking about whether you're going to spend the next year running and hiding and pretending and suffering, or whether you're going to spend it in connection with your Creator, in peace with yourself, in alignment with your purpose. And the decision point is right now. The decision point is these first 10 days. Because if you do this right, if you commit fully, if you show up with sincerity, then everything that follows will be easier. The temptations will be less powerful. The distractions will be less appealing. The doubts will be less loud, because you'll have tasted something real. You'll have experienced something true. You'll know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Allah is real, that He's present, that He cares about you, that He wants you to succeed, that He's waiting for you. This is not blind faith. This is not hopeful thinking. This is the result of genuine seeking. This is the result of sincere effort. This is the result of showing up and being honest and making dua and reading the Quran and standing in prayer. When you do these things, when you actually do them consistently, you experience the presence of Allah. You know it, you feel it, and no one can take that from you. No doubt can shake it. No rationalization can minimize it. So let me tell you what happens after the first 10 days, after you've built this foundation, after you've established this connection with Allah. Let me tell you what happens in the middle and final sections of Ramadan. By the 11th day, you've formed a rhythm. Your body has adjusted to the fasting. The intense hunger that you felt in the first few days has lessened. And instead of focusing on your stomach, you can focus on your heart, you can focus on your growth, you can focus on your transformation. And this is where the real gifts of Ramadan start to reveal themselves. This is where you start to notice changes in your character. You're less irritable, you're more patient, you're more generous, you're more aware. And these changes are not because you're trying so hard to change them. They're changing because your internal alignment has shifted. Your foundation has changed. So everything that's built on that foundation changes too. In the middle days of Ramadan, you're maintaining what you started. You're continuing the tahajjud. You're continuing the dua. You're continuing the Quran. You're maintaining the consistency that you established in the first 10 days. And this is where discipline becomes joy. What felt hard at the beginning starts to feel natural. What felt like effort starts to feel like privilege. You're not waking up at 3 in the morning because you have to. You're waking up because you want to. Your heart is pulling you out of bed because it's hungry for that connection with Allah. It's thirsty for that time before dawn when everything is quiet and you're alone with the divine. And then you reach the last 10 days. These are the days when the intensity increases. These are the days when Laylat al-Qadr is hidden. The night of power, the night that is better than 1,000 months, is somewhere in these last 10 days. And you don't know which night it is. So you increase your effort, you stay up more, you pray more, you seek more desperately. And this seeking, this not knowing, this desperation to catch that night, it does something to you. It purifies you. It focuses you. It reminds you that you're seeking something infinite, something beyond your control, something that can only be granted by Allah. And whether you catch Laylat al-Qadr or not, whether you feel something extraordinary on one of those nights or not, something shifts in you. You've spent a month in connection with Allah. You've spent a month being mindful. Oh, you've spent a month seeking. You've spent a month changing. And by the time Ramadan ends, you're not the same. You can't be. You've been in the presence of your Creator for 30 days. You've stood before Him every single day. You've asked Him for forgiveness. You've read His words. You've fasted in His honor. You've given in His name. How could you be the same? And this is where the grief comes. Because Ramadan ends, the month is over, the special month is gone. And you have to go back to your regular life. You have to go back to work, to school, to responsibilities, to the world. And suddenly the spirituality feels harder. The connection feels thinner. The inspiration feels like it's fading. But here's the secret. The fading is not real. The connection hasn't actually been severed. The spirituality hasn't actually decreased. What's happened is that the environment has changed. But what you've become, what you've experienced, who you've discovered yourself to be, that remains. That's permanent. That's you now. So in the weeks and months after Ramadan, you don't have to go back to who you were before. You can choose to maintain what you built. You can choose to continue your tahajjud, even if it's less frequent. You can choose to continue your daily Quran reading. You can choose to continue your consciousness of Allah. You can choose to maintain the character changes that you worked so hard to develop. And when you do this, when you choose to maintain, you find that what you feared would fade actually deepens. Because now it's not just something that happens in a special month. It's your life. It's who you are. And this is where Ramadan becomes revolutionary in your life. This is where it shifts from being an annual event to being the catalyst for your life transformation. Because you've proven to yourself that change is possible. You've experienced it, We've tasted it. You know that you're capable of being different. You know that Allah can change your heart. You know that you can access a level of consciousness, a level of connection, a level of purpose that you didn't know existed before. And once you know that, once you've experienced it, you can never go back. You can never again say that you can't change. You can never again say that Allah isn't real. You can never again say that your life doesn't matter. Because you've touched eternity. You've stood before your Creator. You've been transformed by His presence. And that reality follows you into every subsequent day of your life. This is what the first 10 days do. They establish a beachhead. They create a space in your heart where Allah can work. They weaken the walls that you've built, the defenses that protect you from vulnerability, the patterns that keep you trapped. And through that opening, through that weakened space, transformation flows. And the transformation doesn't just affect your spiritual life. It affects everything. Your relationships improve because you're more patient and more kind. Your work improves because you're more focused and more purposeful. Your self-image improves because you've seen yourself stand before Allah and ask for forgiveness and be forgiven. You've seen yourself succeed at something difficult. You've seen yourself be consistent. You've seen yourself care about something more than your own comfort. And this new self-image becomes the foundation for everything else. You start making better decisions because you see yourself as someone who makes better decisions. You start treating people better because you see yourself as someone who treats people well. You start pursuing your goals more earnestly because you see yourself as someone who achieves what they commit to. The first 10 days of Ramadan don't just change your relati. On ship with Allah, they change your relationship with yourself. So when you enter Ramadan 2026, when those first 10 days begin, know that you're not just going through a religious obligation. You're not just fasting because you're supposed to. You're stepping into a transformation. You're answering an invitation. You're saying yes to the possibility of becoming someone new. You're giving Allah permission to reshape your heart, realign your priorities, and reconnect you to your purpose. And as difficult as those first 10 days might be, as hard as it might be to wake up at 3 in the morning, as challenging as it might be to fast and feel hungry and face your own weaknesses and stand before Allah and be honest about who you are, every moment of that difficulty is worth it. Because on the other side of that difficulty is freedom. On the other side of that vulnerability is strength. On the other side of that darkness is light. You're not just fasting for 30 days, you're preparing yourself for your entire future. You're investing in yourself. You're choosing to become the person that you're capable of becoming. You're choosing to live a life that has meaning, that has purpose, that has connection to something infinite and eternal. And all of that begins in the first 10 days. So commit, really commit. Don't approach these days half-heartedly. Don't go through them hoping they'll change you. Go through them knowing that they will change you because you're going to change them through your effort, your sincerity, your vulnerability, and your love for Allah. Let the tears flow. Let the dua come from your deepest place. Let the hunger of your body remind you of the hunger of your soul. Let the darkness of night remind you of the light that exists in your heart when you're connected to your Creator. This is the power of Ramadan. This is the gift of the first 10 days. And it's yours if you're willing to reach for it. It's yours if you're willing to be real. It's yours if you're willing to trust that transformation is possible. It's yours if you're willing to answer when Allah calls. So I make dua for you. I make dua that Allah wakes your heart in the night. I make dua that Allah opens the doors of His mercy for you. I make dua that your tears in Tahajjud are accepted by Him. I make dua that your hunger is a stepping stone to satisfaction of the soul. I make dua that you emerge from these first 10 days with a heart so connected to Allah that nothing can shake it. I make dua that Ramadan becomes the turning point in your life. I make dua that you become someone who doesn't just observe this month, but is transformed by it. Ya Rab, accept from us our fasting, our prayers, our tears, our sincerity. Ya Rab, forgive us for our heedlessness. Ya Rab, connect our hearts to you in a way that never breaks. Ya Rab, give us the wisdom to make the most of these precious days. Ya Rab, make the first 10 days of Ramadan the foundation of transformation that lasts not just this year, but for the rest of our lives. Ya Rab, make us among those who don't just fast with their bodies, but who fast with their hearts, who seek with their whole beings, who surrender completely to your will. This is your Ramadan. This is your moment. This is your invitation. And it begins right now.